Welcome, guys. I'm excited you've joined this free webinar here. My name is Eric Fredrickson with Recovering Reality. The stuff we're going to dive into today, I've been studying this for years. I have implemented this in my own 13-year recovery journey and helped implement this into the lives of hundreds of clients over the course of 8 years. And the reason why is because it works. When we get a little bit better understanding of what's going on underneath the hood, what's going on in our brain, in our mind, in our bodies, we step into this transformation process, understand it a little bit better, learn that there's daily habits we can do to step into this process even more effectively, and how do we maintain it and make this a lifestyle. Let's dive right in, guys. So let me just start by honoring you. I'm so glad you've joined. The fact that you are joining shows you want to grow more. It shows you want to step into health. It shows you care about yourself. Even if it's just a little bit of willingness, it's going to take you a long way in this transformation process. So I'm really excited you've joined. And I mean that. I've been through this. Like I said, I've been through this process here. So the willingness is a really, really big deal. All right, guys, neuroplasticity, addiction, and recovery, how to live in sync, mind, body, and spirit. What's going on underneath the hood? These are the things we want to zero in on, okay? 1, what's going on underneath the hood? Dive into more of that in just a moment. There's nothing wrong with you. 2, there's nothing wrong with you. 3, how to change it and make it a lifestyle of the utmost importance. We want to better understand the process and what's going on so we can more effectively partner with and step into this process here. 4, understanding your body's feel-good chemicals and understanding how you wanting to feel good is not the problem. Wanting to feel good isn't the issue. What are we doing to get there? What route are we taking to feel good? Are we doing it in a natural, healthy way where it's sustainable and it gets us where we want to go? Or are we doing it in a very unhealthy way, unnatural way that's not taking us places that we want to go? Let's dive in, guys. What's going on? Simple analogy I start with here is just what's going on underneath the hood. When we liken it to a car, if we could just better understand a tiny bit of what's going on underneath the hood of a car, simple stuff. Check the oil, fluids, tire pressure, rotation of tires, like just little tiny things. We don't need to be a full-blown mechanic. Just like to better understand neuroplasticity and neural pathways, we don't need to be a neuroscientist. But a little bit of understanding goes a really long way, because when we understand a little bit more of how a car runs and how to check if it's running right, it just better helps us drive it the right way and drive it so it's more sustainable and runs even longer. All right, so let's start here. What is neuroplasticity? It's the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic. Synapsis is a tiny gap, I see in the video there, okay, a tiny gap across which a nerve cell or neuron can send an impulse to another neuron, especially in response to learning or experience or following injury. Neurons that fire together wire together, all right? Neuropsychologist Donald Hebb, 1949, often considered the father of neuropsychology. The point he's making here is our neurons, when we get a thought, and we begin to engage with it and build thought processes around this thought and habits and whatnot, the neurons, they fire together and they begin to wire. Neurons, they fire together through our thoughts, electrical impulses, boom, they wire together, creating what we'll dive into next here, neural pathways. We begin to create those impulses, they begin to wire together. And what happens is, if you look at the brain, they scan it, look at it under a microscope, if you will, take a deeper dive and a much more detailed look at the brain. What you see is that the way we think actually changes the physical structure of our brain. We get a thought, something is modeled for us. We follow those habits, we follow those actions that we saw. We get that thought, we see something, we keep it in our mind and create thought processes around it. The neurons start firing, they start wiring, and it literally starts to dig into our brain like it would look if you scanned it, divots. That's why they call it neural pathways, roadways, a psychological infrastructure, if you will. Think about it. We're thinking, we continue to engage in that thought process. It just goes on and on and on. And what takes place is our thoughts are now traveling down roadways, and they are steering our words and our actions in a certain direction. What are neural pathways? A series of connected nerves along which electrical impulses travel in the body. I'm going to read this verse and give you a little bit more analogy here, a way maybe you could picture it that's going to be even more helpful for you. Okay. Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinks within himself, so is he. The way we think about ourselves becomes our reality. Why? Because when we grab a hold of that thought and create thought processes around it, it digs roadways, pathways into our brain that our thoughts become familiar with, and now they're always traveling down it. Let me read you this real quick. This is a paragraph in my book I'm going to be releasing soon, some research I was doing. In 2005, the National Science Foundation published their findings on some research they conducted around human thought life. They found that the average person has as many as 60,000 thoughts in a single day. They also stated that around 80% of those thoughts were negative, and about 95% of those thoughts were on repeat from the day before. This describes this perfectly. Roughly 60,000 thoughts in a day. Of those 60,000, 80% are negative. Of the 80%, 95% of those on repeat from the day before. Why? Because these thoughts have found a highway to travel down. And here's the good news we're going to dig into. We can change this, okay? But our thinking becomes comfortable and familiar and stuck on these pathways. And most of the time, we don't even know it. We just keep asking ourselves, why can't I stop thinking like this? Why do I keep doing this? Those are the right questions. We just want the right answers now. Okay. Try and look at it like this. Say I'm standing right here and in front of me is a forest. Okay. And the destination I need to get to is on the other side of the forest. So I create a pathway. I dig it out. There's, branches in the way. There's a log in the way. I get this stuff out of the way and I clear out a pathway. Well, I stay on this pathway for a certain period of time. I get through the forest, but I realize this isn't taking me where I want to go. I don't like the destination. So we come back to this side of the forest and we say, you know what? I need to go that way. Actually, we start to dig out a path. We get a half mile in, we're tired, branches in the way, we're kicking stuff off. There's a log there. I'm like, man, I'm tired. I know there's other pathway. I'm real familiar with it. Let's just default to that one because that one's easy. I've already dug that one out. Yeah, but here's the thing about that pathway. It's not taking you where you want to go. We need a new pathway. Neural pathways are very, very similar. That's why, as we transition right into here, there's nothing wrong with you. This is the normal process, okay? For years, all right? For years, we created neural pathways in our thinking, thoughts that create pathways in our brain that weren't taking us where we want to go. Well, it took some time to create that thinking process. It took some time to do that. We stayed on it for quite a while, developing these habits and this thinking. 60,000 thoughts in a day, roughly 80% of them negative and 95% of those on repeat from the day before. That's deeply ingrained. That's a deep divot in there. Here's the good news, though. We can change that. So when you initially start on this journey and there's some difficulty, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. That is the natural process that everybody goes through. But when we understand the process, like, oh, it's difficult for everybody at first. This is the normal process for everybody. We get past a few bumps in the road and we dig that path out. How do you dig a path out in the forest? You keep walking it and it beats the path in. It gets stuff out the way. We get the branches out the way. There's a log in the way. We move it and we dig that path out. Now all of a sudden we're familiar and locked into a new way of thinking, creating a new narrow pathway that gets us to a new destination that we actually want to go to. There's nothing wrong with you. It's important to understand that this is the normal process with our brains. We need new neural pathways. We need a new psychological infrastructure. As I just elaborated on, for years, we created very detrimental neural pathways. Now add to that brain cells were lost, how our body has been run down and depleted, how it's lacking vitamins and nutrients, and most oftentimes a very big mess that we're trying to clean up while trying to get our mental and his physical health back. Okay. We created a mess. We're going in the wrong direction. Our thoughts are going in the wrong direction. We're just changing it. The resistance, the difficulty to shift gears initially, and the work it takes to carve this new pathway is not because there's something wrong with you. That's the normal process for everybody. So check this out, guys. If you are familiar with the Bible at all, or, listen to some sermons, been in church, chances are you've heard this verse. I want to just highlight part of it and one specific word here. It talks about the renewing of the mind. Okay. This is Romans 12:2, and it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We've probably all been conformed to this world, some, okay? So we can all just start by saying we've all been there, all right? But here's an interesting little part to this. It's our thinking that changes our life. It starts with the thinking, and that affects our words, our actions, our environments. But it starts, we need a renewing of the mind. We need a new thought processes that are traveling down new roadways. Okay. If you look that word transformed up in the Greek, it's where we get our English word for the word metamorphosis. Metamorphosis, change of physical form, structure, or substance, especially by supernatural means, a striking alteration in appearance, character, or circumstances. Look, this metamorphosis played out in our lives already as we went down the path we didn't want to go down. We look tired. It changes our appearance, our character. It changes our circumstances. And it was our thinking and what we agreed with that led us down that path. It's the same principle when we go this way now. Okay. We've heard the term metamorphosis. It is most often used for the transformation of a caterpillar to a butterfly. Now, check out this video as I share this. Okay. I was a caterpillar, just a blob slithering around for 13 years of addiction was what was going on in my life. Okay. I dreamed of one day, being a butterfly, being able to go places and do things, but I could never just stop slithering like a blob. It was when I invited God into the process and was very diligent at filling my mind with the right content, understanding this, forming the habits, that the transformation took place. And I went from a caterpillar to a butterfly. The things I've been able to do and what it is I get to do now, 13 years later, I never in a million years would have dreamed of. Never. And maybe you're in the same place. Maybe you're like, man, I've been dreaming of that, knowing that you are capable of more, but not being able to get there. This stuff right here is going to help you get there. So how do we change it and make it a lifestyle? Let me just zero in on some things pertaining specifically to that, because when we understand, as we've already laid out, what's going on underneath the hood, now we want to understand, okay, how do I change it and how do I keep the change? First, this one's important. Be patient and kind with yourself. There's nothing wrong with you when you're stepping in some resistance initially with this. There's nothing wrong with you when it's difficult at first. I've been through it, okay? Proverbs 19:8, it says, he who acquires wisdom loves himself. One who safeguards understanding will find success. The fact that you are listening right now, trying to acquire more wisdom, shows that you are leaning into this space more and more of learning how to love yourself and love yourself more effectively. And the one who safeguards the understanding they find that works, they will find success in their life. You'll find that freedom and that health as the more you lean into acquiring more wisdom and safeguarding the understanding that you gain. Let me read this. This can be difficult in early recovery because we're learning to love ourselves all over again, or maybe for the first time. And past thinking patterns, and neural pathways are trying to get us back on the unhealthy pathways. But good news, if I can do it, you can do it. Ask God for help daily. Psalm 46:1, God, you're such a safe and powerful place to find refuge. You're a proven help in time of trouble, more than enough and always available whenever I need you. Let me read this and elaborate just on the importance of relationship with God. A 2004 study on religious coping methods in the Journal of Health Psychology found that people who approach God as a partner or collaborator in their life had better mental and physical health outcomes. And people who are angry at God, who feel punished or abandoned, or who relinquish responsibility and defer to God for solutions had worse outcomes. What it's saying is that those that look as God as a partner, those that look at God, this is a relationship. God, come live inside of me and show me, empower me how to walk this path. Show me what you're doing and how to more effectively partner with you. Not sitting over here and just saying, oh, why God? Why me? When are you going to do this, God? You said you're going to do it. And God's saying, I am going to do it. Let's go. Let's both of us follow me on this journey. Let me empower you. Let me move some stuff out the way. Let me empower you and show you how to move some stuff out the way. It's a growing relationship, and God is for you, not against you. And right here is really where things begin to change. And it's really where we learn to make this a lifestyle. I want to focus in on these 4 here and, read a few things here. But morning routine is a big one. Really, really big one. Morning routine transformed my life. It really did. In early recovery, I would get up at like 5:30 in the morning every day. I would spend time reading, writing, and praying. Reading, new thinking, creating new thoughts. And it's our thinking that changes our brain, right? Writing, getting even more clarity, digging those pathways even deeper, getting even more clarity on what it is I'm beginning to understand, and praying, asking God for help and inviting God into the process. Morning routines are powerful and amazing. Reading, writing, and praying. You say, well, I'm not getting up at 5:30 in the morning, Eric. I'm not saying you have to do that, okay? It is a habit that I have implemented from day one, and I have not changed at all. I haven't done it 100% of the days in 13 years, but most days. I do it because I love it and I know the benefit of it. I want to get up and I want to get my feet on solid ground and get clarity before I even face the day. And in the midst of doing that, the mind is being renewed, continual ongoing renewing, and new neural pathways are being dug out. Okay. Let me read this from recovery.org. Science supports the idea that habit and routine are important, especially in early recovery. Having definitive plans and staying busy helps the recovering addict to avoid having excess free time. The report further explains that unstructured time can lead to boredom and increase the risk of returning to old, unhealthy, and risky patterns. But structured routines help you feel more in control. They give you a sense of having taken responsibility for making positive changes, and they help you build confidence. Structured routines, consistency, every single day, habits. Why? Because when we get the good thinking and we partner it with good actions, it digs new neural pathways. And now all of a sudden we're defaulting to a healthy pathway that's taking us to a healthy place. This one's real important here too. Surround yourself with people that can guide you and allow your body to heal. We're talking about community now, being in healthy relationships. Okay. And I'll elaborate more on how a lot of that is activates our feel-good chemicals in our body as well. Okay. But scientists, they found that it helps relieve harmful stress levels, which can adversely affect coronary arteries, gut function, insulin regulation, and the immune system. Another line of research suggests that caring behaviors trigger the release of stress-reducing hormones. When we are under constant stress, our body's getting pumped full of chemicals called cortisol, epinephrine, and adrenaline. And the number one cause of health problems is stress. You can do some research on your own on that one. The number one cause of health problems is stress. What it is that gets those stress chemicals out of our body is doing the exact opposite. We're going to dive into that in just one second. Let me read this verse here. This is Psalm 133 from the Message Bible. It's a couple of different verses, but it's a really short chapter. It's only 3 verses. It says, how wonderful, how beautiful when brothers and sisters get along. Yes, that's where God commands the blessing. What's being said here is that even in this place of unity, when we're have healthy relationships and we're in community growing, God honors it and he commands a blessing in that space. That's powerful. I want to be in a space where God is commanding a blessing over my life. I don't know about you. Look, understanding how to boost your body's feel-good chemicals. I'm gonna get through this a little quicker here, okay? And you can dive back in and come back to it if you need to. But this stuff right here is really important. Then I want to end by just steering you to some good resources. Okay, guys. Understanding how to boost your body's feel-good chemicals. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to feel good. You should want to feel good. How are we doing it though? Okay. All these chemicals here I'm about to mention: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Drugs and alcohol release all of these as well. Different drugs and alcohol more than others. Okay. But drugs and alcohol, they cause our body to be flooded with these feel-good chemicals. It just does it in a very unnatural way where it drains us. It just does it in a way where it actually screws us up. And we've experienced that, okay? And then it brings in spiritual issues, emotional issues, mental issues, physical issues, right? All for the sake of wanting to feel good. So let's feel good. Let's get you feeling good. Let's just do it the right way. Let's start with dopamine, okay? Also known as a feel-good hormone. Dopamine is a hormone and neurotransmitter. This is a chemical, feel-good chemical, that when it is flowing in our body, it enhances our ability to create new and powerful neural pathways. And a neurotransmitter, it's an important part of your brain's reward system. This is why having a vision is so important, because when our mind is fixed on the vision, the reward for our hard work, our brain activates more dopamine. Some dopamine boosters here, okay? Good sleep, exercise, listening to music. I would recommend good music. I stopped listening to a lot of garbage when I stepped into recovery because what we fill our mind with becomes the lens through which we see the world. So I dumped a bunch of garbage music and started listening to good music. I'm not telling you what to listen to. I'm just saying there is music that maybe isn't so helpful for the renewing of the mind, but good music is extremely helpful for the renewing of the mind, and it boosts our dopamine. And science research has proven meditating and praying both release dopamine in our brain and body, and spending time in the sun. Another one here, serotonin is produced almost entirely in our neurons. Remember, we talked about neurons, our thinking. Okay. That's why I tied in feel good chemicals. They're so important. When they're released in our body, it just empowers us and helps us live into and step into creating these new pathways just even more effectively. The body uses it to send messages between nerve cells, just like the video, like we first talked about what neuroplasticity is. This hormone and neurotransmitter helps regulate your mood as well as your sleep, appetite, digestion, learning, ability, and memory. Interestingly enough, when we're on drugs and alcohol, it's pumping all this stuff into our body, but it does it in such an out of whack, unhealthy way that it actually makes our mood worse, our sleep worse, our appetite, and our digestion, and our learning ability, and our memory. When we're doing it the right way, it does the exact opposite. It boosts all those things in a very healthy way. Serotonin boosters, a healthy diet, primarily high protein foods, sunlight, exercise, same with dopamine, prayer and meditation, the exact same thing, proven to be something that releases serotonin into our body. All right. Oxytocin, it's a powerful one, often called the love hormone. Oxytocin is essential for childbirth. This hormone can also help promote trust, empathy, and bonding in relationships. Oxytocin boosters are physical affection, massage, spending quality time with friends and family, get that pumping through our body in a powerful way. Prayer and meditation, acts of kindness for others is proven to release more oxytocin in our body, and meaningful conversations. It's the connection. It's when we're connecting with people that establishes it. This is why community is so important. When we're in healthy relationships, having meaningful conversations, pursuing healthy relationships, learning how to do them more effectively, helping others, oxytocin is pumping through our blood, and it only helps, well, everything, really, okay? And this last one here, guys, endorphins, okay? Let me share a little insight I found was very interesting, okay? The word origin, it comes from two words, endogenous, okay, a Greek word meaning produced inside, and morphine, the opiate pain reliever. A 2010 study published online in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences revealed that our bodies naturally produces traces of morphine. No one yet knows why the body makes morphine, but is used to help nerve cells communicate with each other. What's it saying? When we get endorphins pumping through our blood, it is our body's natural painkiller. Known that for a long time. But what happens when it's pumping through our blood is it helps the nerve cells communicate. It's helping the neurons in the nerve cells, the central nervous system, which all just ties hand in hand with us learning how to partner with this process of creating better neuro pathways. All right. It's your body's natural pain relievers produced in response to stress or discomfort. Endorphin levels also tend to increase when you engage in reward producing activities, such as eating and working out. This is why having a vision, I copied and pasted this from, like I said, about dopamine. This is why having a vision is so important, because when our mind is fixed on the vision, the reward for our hard work, our brain activates more endorphins. There's a few boosters here, all right, ways to boost your endorphin levels. Laughing, it's a really good one. Exercise, listening to music, eating dark chocolate, prayer, and meditation, all proven ways to boost your endorphins. Let me steer you to a couple of resources here, guys. You know, a podcast that we have, Recovering Reality Podcast, Stories and Teachings of Hope, over 170 podcasts, lots of stories filled with hope. I've had scientists, multiple scientists on there, neuroscientists, multiple doctors. We deep dive into a lot of this stuff here, and there's just a whole bunch of stories that are going to fill you with hope, teachings about mindsets and practical tips that can really get you going in an awesome direction. Okay. And you can follow us over there on Instagram at Recovering Reality. just about every single day, some form of inspiration, hope, or insider tip that's helping you step into the next level of health and growth in your life. Guys, if this encouraged you, please feel free to just send it to a friend, send it to somebody who you think this would encourage and this would help them in the place that they are at in their journey in life. I just want to say this too, if you're ready to invest your time, energy, and resources into something that's going to get you a better return, click the link below and let's talk. Because if you think about it, we're investing our time, energy, and resources no matter what. And when I was stuck in addiction, when I was stuck in actions and habits, I was investing my time, energy, and resources into things that wasn't getting me the return that I wanted. I didn't even realize I was investing and receiving a return. We're investing no matter what. If you're ready to just change what it is and where you're investing and put it into something that's going to get you a return, that's going to give you freedom and purpose and clarity, click the link below. Let's talk. Let's get you on a path to purpose and freedom. Talk to you soon.